Professor Sam Ongeri, who not only is technical, but he's also been a politician. So he'll tell you exactly how to drain the swamp.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I just want to appreciate your invitation to this 50th anniversary of having graduated as students in 1978. And today, you are in different capacities worldwide. I want to thank my wife for keeping me safe from that time to today. She can salute you. Now you can stand up and salute them. You know, it was exciting when I got this invitation. I said, wow, for the first time, we're being remembered by our old students. When we came in 1970s, I'd come earlier, 66, after I was a student leader in India, and during the independence celebration, Mzee Kenyatta sent me money to celebrate Kenya's Independence Day. That was a plus. Came back as a doctor, did my internship in Kenyatta National Hospital. I did my district one roundups. I went to Northeastern, worked very under hard conditions, came to Nyeri, then back to Kenyatta as a registrar, and then off to Edinburgh University and then London. Then I came back again. The most exciting thing about the class of 1978, you are down-to-earth people. Why do I say so? I remember I made a rule, nobody walks in my ward rounds without a tie, and you obeyed that etiquette. And if you came to my classroom or my ward rounds, you didn't wear a tie, I would send you out. Reason being, I argued, you are the only people who have a very rare individual experience to handle human life. Therefore, in your presentation, you must appear properly dressed. I'm glad you are acknowledging today that was part of your character. Yes. People then thought that I was queer, but I now realize it formed part of your character. Number two, we did emphasize that 50% of your relationship must be with the patient, more than 50% of your time. That history taking was a critical factor in the final diagnosis of what you must do. And we followed that up with a practice every Wednesday morning and afternoon when you had case presentations, whether from medical department for pediatrics or from radiology or from other areas. We could see you students making a case study along with the registrar, presenting to the audience, and you will accept the critique coming from you. I now realize that was a very formative stage for you to set up your trajectory to the future. It was not in vain. Then the other thing I realized is that that time we had too many infectious diseases around, measles, smallpox, or other poxes, or whatever you call them. Today I hear of M-pox. And one of the things that I remember some of my colleagues, we had our colleagues from McGill University and Glasgow University, and I remember Jim Akidugo, who was just spoken to us here today. Not only was he a musician, but he was an artist. And I remember very well indeed. So, but one of the things they said, Professor Ongeri, or Dr. Ongeri that time, why are you struggling, trying to learn about renal medicine, teaching students renal medicine? You have too much kwashiorkor around here, and too much of diarrhea diseases and upper respiratory tract infections. You should concentrate your time on teaching on those things and not forget about these other innovative subjects. And I said a time is going to come when all these things will be eradicated. Has that come? Yes. We are now in the new era. If we didn't teach you at that time, and I'm surprised Professor D.H. didn't remember how we struggled with late Bienda Otieno and Doris Kinuthia and somebody else to set up the renal unit at Kenyatta National Hospital. It was a nightmare. They said, you're going to spend your time, like what Dr. Silverstein said earlier on, that to set up a new department with the future was seen as something unnecessary at that time, a waste of expenditure and a waste of money. And I remember we only had one dialysis machine. It took twice the volume of the blood of the patient. By the time you realize you have to pump in more blood to be able to sustain that dialysis. Then I remember, I said, we have these AK-10 machines from Denmark. Why don't we bring them in? They said, you must be sick. I said, I'm not sick, I'm normal. And sure enough, we brought the AK-10 machines. And the dialysis, not only did it become a routine, but it became one ways of saving lives. Interesting. Tula Bahauri has just spoken here, wonderful lady. We first of all had the first immunology course by WHO, by Professor Huber, mounted here in Nairobi for 6 months. And I think Tula, myself, and Dave Koech, the late, and many others were in that class. Today, you will agree with me, at that time immunology was considered as an outside subject, but today it's an in thing. Everybody's talking about the autoimmune diseases, and all those things affecting. Anything happening new, it must be an autoimmune disease, something of the nature. But that time was strange. But I'm glad that you walked with us a journey. So when we brought in these things, that you were working with us. And I remember a few of you, like Dr. Doris Kinuthia, Dr. somebody else, when I used to go to the radiology department to do the renal biopsy, it was a blind touch that time, and you could hit anywhere. But when the image intensifier came, I think there's a radiologist here. Is it Dr. Yambo or somebody else? Yes. When the image intensifier came in, we were able now to localize where you would get your tissue from, be able to analyze it. We are now done immunology. We could do immunofluorescence, and you could see what side of the part of the kidney is involved, whether it's the epithelial side, the basement side, or the endothelial side, and vice versa. And therefore, you'll be able to deal with the situation more effectively. Today is a roller coaster for you, because you have now gone beyond just the immunofluorescence. You are now using artificial intelligence to be able to diagnose some of these conditions. That is the development of medicine. And that's what it should be. And that's the way it should go. My challenge to you, thank you for the lunch. I've enjoyed it. But my challenge to you, a challenge I get every day. I'm challenged every day that I must do something, that I must write about my memoirs. And I now see a chapter on the class of 78. Now that I'm going to get a book. A challenge to you. Whether you're talking of Kamarogo, whether you're talking of Wasuna, whether you're talking of, I saw the Bauris, whether you're talking of somebody else, you have such an arsenal of information. in the medical world. Is it possible that you can put it in the form of a book? I used to read at that time, and I used to teach using the book of the principles and everything else of the textbook of Davidson. Could it be that a class of 1978 can write such a book by so many multiple authors? Why waste away such a knowledge? You have such a vast knowledge on nutrition. You have such a vast knowledge on endocrinology. You have such a vast knowledge on surgery, gyne and ops. And I remember when Professor Chavez Matthew that time was dealing with population dynamics and the research on ovulation and other issues. You know, these are the kind of things that can be put together. I don't think our minds are very old now to also contribute some level of chapter somewhere there that you can fall back on, so that you create a legacy. Now that you've done a very powerful legacy today, you can create another legacy by writing a voluminous book which excels, which is worldwide. Some of you have gone to WHO level, to regional level, to various universities, and I think it's something that we can all learn from, class of 78. You are the most cohesive class because the previous class had come, some of them had come from Makerere, some of them had come from other areas. They were not as united as you were. You were about 30 or 40 of you, and you always moved together as if you are twin sisters and brothers. But today, I've again seen the same spirit, and if you can translate that spirit into a book of some sort, that will be a reference book. That would be a great thing. God bless you. And finally, I learned something from you. After teaching you and sharing with you, I also ended up in sharing myself with the other people in the political class.